Thank you all so much for having us. My name is Allison Robinson, and this is,
Travis.
and Travis is my son, of course, and he is, how old is he?
5.
He's 5 years old. Well, when he was 3 months old, we had to get rushed to the hospital, and of course, I'm going to tell a little bit of our story, but I wanted you to see what transplant looks like, what organ donation looks like. Do you remember what you got? You had a special,
Heart.
yes, when he was 7 months old, he received a heart transplant because he had an enlarged heart. So, sweet boy, I call him Sweet Boy. This is my Sweet Boy. But, Sweet Boy, I'm going to let you run upstairs and I'm going to tell your story, okay? All right, so see you later.
See you later.
Okay,
Ah!
see you later.
Ah!
Okay. So again, my name is Allison, and I really just wanted to thank you all so much for having me. Of course, you all were able to meet Travis Jr. He is full of personality. He keeps us busy, but we appreciate it all. Just a little bit about his story. When he was 3 months old, we noticed that his breathing was a little bit off. We noticed that it was labored and he had a hard time breathing. We also noticed that when we nursed him, he would throw up frequently. It was in pretty much all the time thing that whenever I nursed him, he would throw up. Well, when he was born, there were no complications. When I was pregnant with him, there were no complications. Go ahead.
Tell him when I was at a procedure.
I will tell him about your procedure. He wants me to tell y'all about his procedure, and I'm going to get to that. So run upstairs, and I'll tell you all about it. Uh-huh. Yes. Okay, go on upstairs. I will. I will. Love you, sweet boy. Okay, 2 of them. You did have 2. He is now making sure that I let you all know about his heart cath as well. So I will be sure to tell you about his follow-up procedures as he grows older. But going back to when he was a child, we were rushed to the hospital after taking him to the pediatrician. When noticing that his breathing was funny, they asked us to bring him in to get checked out. And immediately our doctor noticed that something was not right, and it was an emergent situation. So, of course, we were rushed to the hospital, and that is when we found out that he did indeed have an enlarged heart. Because his heart was so enlarged, it was pressing against his left lung, which caused it to collapse, and that is what caused his difficulty with breathing. He was trying to, force himself to breathe, essentially using only one lung. So we stayed in the hospital. We ended up being in the hospital a total of 5 months, but after about 3 months of being in the hospital, we found out that he would need to be placed on an artificial heart. At the same time, he would need to be placed on the donor registry list, and he would need to receive a transplant because he was top priority and he wouldn't survive without it. So the emotions that we experienced, my husband and I, during that time were devastation and disappointment, of course, heartbroken for all of the thoughts and ideas and plans that we had for his life, all of the events that he would be able to attend, all of the activities that he would participate in that would now look a lot different. So, of course, he was placed on the transplant list, and he was also placed on what was called the Berlin heart. The Berlin heart is a artificial heart machine, and it actually helps his heart to pump blood through his body. Imagine a file cabinet with a laptop placed on top of it and tubes running from that file cabinet into his heart, through tubes placed into his heart. So if we had to go anywhere, that file cabinet was being wheeled around. The laptop had to be working properly, because if anything ever happened to that laptop, it would cost him his life. So as we waited for the news that he would receive the transplant, we stayed in the intensive care unit. Days were long and stressful and overwhelming at times. And I remember that, now that I look back on it, a day or two before we received the news, I actually had an emotional breakdown with our doctor. and I let him know this is really getting rough and I'm having a hard time. And of course, he told me to stick with it, stay the course, don't give up and don't get discouraged. But I'll never forget that Friday morning when we received the news that they found a match and they were going to accept that offer. Once before, we found out that there wasn't a match, but our transplant cardiologist decided that it wasn't the best fit for us, and he was in a position, Travis was in a position that we could wait a little longer. So that Friday morning, he pulled me aside. Dr. Wallace was our transplant cardiologist. He pulled me aside and he said, we have a match and it's a good one. And I just remember my knees going weak. The emotions that I felt at that point were bittersweet, of course. We'd wrapped our mind around the idea that in order for our son to live, that meant that another family had to lose their child. And even now thinking about it, it still does trigger emotion as a mom, knowing what that other mom must have felt in that moment as she made the selfless decision to, have her child be an organ donor. So, of course, that day was a whirlwind, and through the entire experience that day, I made sure to, in my prayers, in my thoughts, continue to remember that family that was, going through that loss and the grief of the loss of their infant child, because at that point, Travis was 7 months old. So he received the transplant. He's doing very well, as you all saw. He keeps us busy. He does his own thing when he wants to. But we are appreciative of all of it. I count it all joy just knowing that he is here with us. Every day is a new opportunity for us to create new memories that I am aware would not be possible without that family that made that selfless decision and that child. So, of course, we always keep that family in our prayers, and we always do what we can to honor the legacy of that child, of course. So, thanking you all for being donors, for considering organ donation, for working tirelessly in the effort to bring awareness to organ donation. After experiencing the 5 months of being in the hospital and seeing firsthand how it improves the quality of life for some and it saves lives for others, my son included, it is now my life mission to spread awareness and to thank those who have made the selfless decision of organ donation or are open to being organ donors. Right? So thank you all so much for having us. Thank you all for allowing us to share our story. Thank you, thank you, thank you.